And hello, everybody, the Clint Cronin Show. I'm here with Gumby, right there, name on the screen, and Mike Prudencio.
Whoop, whoop.
You may remember Gumby from films such as, well, he's the guy from OTM, and he also owns Heroes Martial Arts in San Jose, California. Mike Prudencio, my instructor, black belt extraordinaire as well, from One World Jiu Jitsu Academy. And you may catch him as well at 10:30 a.m. at AKA Sunnyvale, running the jiu-jitsu program.
That fist didn't have the effect I hoped it would.
There,
Some fist bumpage there. And if you're wondering where we are right now, copyrights aside, we're on, how would you say it without saying the name of where it is because of any potential copyright laws?
outer space.
In outer space.
We're in a spaceship that destroys other spaceships.
Celestial
Evil
battles.
spaceships. They destroys evil.
All right, and it's not a Falcon of the Millennium type. It's just a bridge of a celestial battle.
Gumby can probably tell us a lot more about... Oh, wait, are we in a bad guy ship?
Is this the bad guy ship?
Is this a bad guy ship?
Wow. Good, bad's relative term.
I guess, yeah, you're right.
Is this the light or the dark
the same,
side of
really.
the battle?
Depends on your perspective, I guess.
I see what you did.
How you guys doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm all right. I can't complain.
How's your holiday season been so far? Holiday season.
My holiday sisters.
Your holiday assistance. How's your holiday assistance been? How's your Christmas
holidays,
been?
It's been good. A little stressful, you know, because you kind of fall into the hype, the shopping and this and that. But the family comes together. We have good dinner, hang out, and it's usually a good time.
Nice. So
I didn't get any jiu-jitsu gifts. No gis, nothing.
no gis,
Zero.
or nothing?
Did you ask Santa for
I
jiu-jitsu gifts?
can always use a new gi. Never have enough gis.
This is true.
But yeah, what did you guys? You guys get any gifts? Anything cool?
What did I get for Christmas? Got some clothes. I didn't get any jiu-jitsu related gifts either so far.
That's because
I didn't.
your
ask Santa
wife
for-
hates jiu-jitsu. Like mine. They hate it.
Your wife's been in a gi before. Mine will never.
Joking, wifey.
Your wife trains sometimes.
Sometimes when she can, she has the time.
Yeah.
Sure. Kids are into it.
Yeah.
But I got a flannel.
I was about to say your son double armbarred me the other day.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's
Been working on
advanced.
that.
Yeah. He caught one. He's like, nah, I want both. And swung up the other leg and got me in a double
He
armbar.
gets vicious when he sees a limb hanging out.
He does.
Man, double arm bar. And you got long arms too. That's
Yeah.
got right in there.
I hang him from the pull-up bars. I tie his wrist to the bars and I put some weights on his ankles and let him hang there about 2-3 hours.
Trying to make him into a basketball player.
Stretch him out.
That's where the money is, of course.
Spider guard. It's going to be monstrous.
His knuckles are gonna drag on the playground.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. Nobody
gonna-
wants to mess with a guy dragging his knuckles.
Well, that's the genetics, not the... Sorry, had to.
He's gonna be the flat-footed kid that
I
can
can't
dunk.
argue that.
Like from being flat on the ground, he's gonna be able to just reach up and dunk, no jump needed.
Can I give a shout out?
Yeah, of course.
Shout out to my man Nima in the house. What's up, Nima?
He's the
Representing. He's got the One World logo on his phone. It's nice.
he's the jiu-jitsu realtor, right?
Yes, he is.
Ninja. Oh, ooh. Okay, that's a little free plug there. We'll send you an invoice. Ninja realtor over here. Nima Meridi of the
Hook it
famous
up
Meridi
with a
family.
house, man.
Oh, I'm there. Barter system.
So what's up now? We got New Year's coming. We've got
New Yeezys.
before that. Oh, no, can't afford those. I can afford the New Year. I can't afford the New Yeezys. Friday, you got Friday, not Saturday, because Ronda told us so. UFC's on.
Yeah.
Amanda Nunes and Ronda Rousey.
Yes.
There was no Kane Velasquez.
No.
Kane, he did an interview. He said some things that maybe he shouldn't have. I don't know. He was a little too transparent.
Oh, what do you say?
And they pulled him out. He's complaining about his injury, back injury. And I don't know. He's got a surgery coming up.
I'm surprised that the athletic commission was actually listening to that, or do they have like
Right?
their
I know.
spies out there? That should be
Like
a little
when they
discouraging.
send their doctors, their physicians to check him out before just pulling him off of what he said in an interview. I don't know. It seems strange that they would do that.
But do they actually have somebody on staff that monitors all interviews, press, and all that? Like the
Must.
athletic commission's like following us right now?
They must be. I think so. There's satellites everywhere.
Like, just some inside information,
Following
which we
us
may or may
around.
not have.
Some spies.
But that would have been a great fight, I think.
That would have been an awesome fight. Sea level Kane versus Verdum.
Sea level.
We wanted to see it.
Oh my god, that's like post-crisis Superman.
Yeah.
Like sea level Kane. He's up there in the sort of category of just these elite level hero types.
Interesting story about or kind of a pseudo interesting story. My this seems like unrelated, but my cousin plays in a blues band, and sometimes I go watch him. And I was hanging out with the blues band. I've done this a number of times, and I got to talking to the members, and one of the guys says "Hey, do you train any kind of martial arts?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I do jiu-jitsu. I have an academy." He's like, "Oh, my son does UFC." Or my son-in-law does UFC. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, because he's like that. He's like, well, who's your son-in-law? He's like, it's Kane Velasquez. I'm like, really? So
Wow.
yeah, that was interesting. So I've Kane Velasquez's father-in-law
Do you think
plays bass in a blues band.
Kane explains what he does as he does UFC. Like, I train UFC. Do you think he goes to his family and
Maybe he
train
didn't say train UFC. Maybe I said my son-in-law is in the UFC. But
Yeah, maybe.
usually when somebody
Probably.
comes up and says like that, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, your son-in-law really does do UFC.
He's right. He wins because do you train UFC, dude? And that's the general thing. You're like, oh yeah, okay, mom, yeah, that's what I do, or yeah, I do that karate thing. But then when it's Kane Velasquez, you're like, he's right.
Yeah.
He's actually training UFC and winning at it.
True that.
So you think? How do you think Ronda's
He's
return's going to go?
I don't. She's an Olympian, dude. She's not only an Olympian, she's a judo Olympian that's medaled in the Olympics. She's an amazing athlete. She's not a normal human being. I think she's gonna do great.
Gonna kill it?
I'll choose her as the winner. I think she's gonna win. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's got maybe a little ring rust, but like I said, she's another level of athlete. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see it. You know what? I've never seen the other fighter fight. I've never seen. There was a Misha Tate. I think she destroyed Misha Tate or something.
That was very fast.
Somebody
yeah.
was telling me about that. I didn't see that fight.
We watched it.
So
at
it's
your
hard
gym.
for me to say. I'm just a Ronda Rousey fan, I guess.
I absolutely am too. We actually watched UFC 200 together at your gym.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, you were there.
If it was at the gym, then it was crazy. I was probably dancing. And,
No, you probably watched it at the house because you're not allowed to watch at the gym.
oh, ooh.
No, there was
That's
UFC
what I call
200.
my house.
Yeah, this is the gym.
I call my house the
we
gym.
go over to your house.
So, yeah, it was still right after Kane Velasquez won against Mark Hunt. So everybody was still up in arms about Brock Lesnar winning a match.
Mm-hmm.
And then right after was the actual main event, which was Amanda Nunes against Misha Tate. And then
Okay.
she quickly dispatched her with a choke of the rear naked variety.
The ye old choke of the rear.
The old choke of the rear naked variety. Don't you know? I don't think that's
What happened to Conor? Is he gone? You out of it?
I saw a cartoon where he's just stealing everyone's belt. He takes Joe Rogan's belt. Have you seen this one?
I've seen that one. Aside from the animation being funny, the voice they gave him was like that the entire time.
Do you think he's
made me
becoming
crack up.
irrelevant? Like, nobody's really talking about him anymore. I don't know.
Connor?
Yeah.
Just because they will, nobody's promoted more himself and the sport more than Connor. It's
It
just
seems like he's starting to slowly fade.
actually I think the rumors have it that they're making him fight or he's going to fight Tyrone Woodley next for the 170 title.
Interesting.
I-
I would like to see it.
You can take a star like at Connor's level or Ronda's level and compare it to Christmas. In July, you're not really thinking about Christmas, right? It comes once a year, but every time November comes around, you're like, dude,
No.
it's Christmas, right? Especially because it's not there as much. If you fought all the time, no one would care as much.
Right.
But then if you have less Connor's more Connor.
Well, he fought a lot last year, though, in
Yeah.
all comparisons. Ronda hasn't fought in a while. Before Ronda took her loss, Ronda was everywhere. She was doing commercials. You'd see her on, WrestleMania. You'd see her, there was a huge Ronda hype train on that. So, last 13 months, it's been Ronda-less. We'll see what happens come Saturday, though.
Friday.
Friday.
I don't want to get Ronda armbar.
And then, Dominic Cruz and what's the gentleman's name? The tattoo guy. I don't want to
Yeah, that
mispronounce
narrows
his
it
name.
down.
Cody Corbin.
Say again.
Garbrandt.
Garbrandt. Did I say it right? Yeah.
No love.
Yeah. No love.
No love.
That's gonna be a good fight too. I think. Those guys look like they want to kill each other.
Have you been watching those like lead up packages?
I've seen a little bit, and yeah, they.
Oh, can we talk about Ryzin? Lose last night. We
Yes.
should talk about Crow Cop coming back and knocking out Molala.
Molala?
Totally.
He knock out Molala?
The Nobel Prize girl, Malala?
King Mo?
Oh, King Mo. No, not the Nobel Prize.
And you said it like one word, Molala.
Malala.
King Mo. Maybe. Yeah.
She's adorable.
And then you see like that one like Japanese girl that weighed in lingerie, like
Yeah,
just
dude.
really bondage. Actually,
It was bondage with the leather thing and the mask, but she wasn't sure about putting the mask
Did
on.
she have the Molala?
No. The girl in the ramen noodle cup outfit, she had the Malala.
yeah.
Did you see the girl dressed as ramen?
No.
There was
Cup of noodles.
There was a cup of
I didn't
noodles.
see
It was the
That's
whole.
how they do it in
cup.
J-Town.
This was some weirdness. I completely wanted to go to Japan last night just to be at this weigh-in because it was just it was quiet and creepy, and
As weighing should be.
but quieter and creepier.
Japan looks so awesome.
It looks tremendous. I have
Yeah,
to
that
go.
weigh-in looked awesome.
Isn't
Gabby.
Gabby fighting?
Yeah, there's two events like in with Ryzin. There was yesterday and there's one New Year's Eve Japan time. So like I think Gabby's fighting.
Who's she
on that
fighting?
one.
The 50-something
No.
year old
Really?
wrestler lady.
Wow.
That's what it's being. I don't know the name exactly, but she's in Japan with. She has Chris in her corner, Chris Cyborg.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
Because I saw a picture where they were doing a stare down, her and Cyborg, Chris Cyborg.
they're friends. They're just
Yeah,
playing.
so I thought
They're not.
seen them spar together. in a
I mean,
video.
like it's gonna be hard to find Gabby like a matchup that makes sense. Like like
Maybe a bear.
Well, it was a Samoan pro wrestler
That might
last
make
time
sense.
with Lady Tapa.
this is true.
So I mean, they exist, but like, there's not that you see walking around every day. That are maybe you could take maybe a WNBA lady or something and buff her up.
But
and,
that's still like like unfortunately like they're once in a generational athletes. Before that, remember Becky Levi? He used to train trained Dan Severn actually,
Yep.
one of her main training partners. Like granted, like that'd be if you're gonna get a 50-year-old out there, you should put Becky Levi out there. Is Becky Levi?
I think she's still active. I don't know. She's
Is
up,
she?
she's got to be up there in age.
She's older than we are right there. So I put her quite a few years older than Gabby. But Becky Levi was like another one that came up and had some MMA fights, and there was just nobody for her to fight. So I can't remember what she wound up doing. But yeah, like if there was just some way to put the two of them, like Becky at her prime and Gabby at her prime, that would be an interesting matchup.
Is Kron Gracie at all fighting in this? No, I didn't see his name anywhere. This is the organization he fights for in Japan.
Ryzin,
he's a Ryzin guy. He's a Ryzin star. Ah, is that what they're called?
I see what you did.
So you're looking this up right now?
You have to, right?
Yeah.
Well, he should.
You need
He's
Sonny.
here.
Yeah, make yourself useful over there, Nima.
Show up with your little Abner shoes and your collared shirt over there. You better be looking something up. We gave you a free plug
Mr.
earlier.
Relator.
How about more jiu-jitsu guys trying to get into MMA, like the American
I would
scene?
love to see. Everybody wants jiu-jitsu guys to stay in jiu-jitsu. Why? Why stay in jiu-jitsu? Go to MMA. Make a career.
But there's some
make
big-
some money. Have a career commentating movies, TV. That's if you want to be a pro athlete, that's where you go.
What jiu-jitsu
Since
guy do
when
you
is
want?
a pro athlete wear a gi and fight for points?
What jiu-jitsu guy do you want to see in movies? Let's skip right over to
Oh, into movies.
Well, you just said go ahead and go into
Gabby,
movies.
maybe.
Yeah, that's doable.
Yeah?
She can do it.
Arnold. If Arnold can do it, Gabby Garcia can do it.
Well, I just saw Deadpool for the first time like a couple of weeks ago, and so Gina Carano was
Gina
on.
Carano. She was
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, yes, Kron Gracie will be fighting a Japanese fellow December 31st in Ryzin.
Do you have a name?
Yeah, please don't hold it against me if I butcher this. It's bad radio, sorry.
Yeah.
There we go.
Nima. is looking
Yeah,
for
it's
Kron.
Tatsuya Kawajiri.
Oh,
legit.
Kawajiri.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a good matchup.
Legit.
that'll be a good fight.
Mm-hmm.
Kron
Kron by
by
armbar.
armbar. Yep. He gets to inherit that from Hickson because it's his
Yep.
dad, and he's Kron
Yep.
Gracie.
True.
So, who else? What's the main event of the 31st? Is it still part of the heavyweight Grand Prix, or what is it?
Let's see. There's Charles Bennett and Minoru Kimura as well.
I hope he wins just for his post-fight antics.
Crazy Horse?
I hope. Did you see the last one?
Crazy Horse?
We ran away calling out. He called Vanderlei Silva Candy Lay and ran around all crazy.
Yeah. Can he wear his grill in the fight?
See,
You can get a mouth guard that looks like a grill.
Oh, okay. That's probably what he does.
there's actually something that just came up for MMA guys. Did you see the Big John McCarthy Unified Rules Change video he made?
I have not.
So it's like a 30 or 45-minute video going over changes to unified MMA rules, which will apply to UFC and other organizations sometime in 2017 forward.
Are they getting rid of the gloves?
They should change the gloves. But when you
Rounds?
this,
No rounds.
so the John Jones things where he's sort of doing like his depth measurement with your fingers pointed, can't do it anymore towards the face. You can do this towards the face. You can do this towards the face. You can't do this.
That's a ninja move right there. That's for the streets.
They'll stop
Save
you.
that for the streets. This
No,
is a sport.
defense.
This is a sport.
See,
We don't need a jab.
that's a valid defense for this though. See, Three Stooges. The curly defense is valid. It's fine.
What if the guy comes you twice at the same time? Twice pipes.
Nope. Fingers extended towards the face of an opponent, not without even touching them, is a foul, and they'll separate you and restart. And you can be deducted points if you keep doing it.
How many fights have been ruined because of that, though? So
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one is a grounded opponent. This one hand touching the floor no longer means you're grounded. Grounded means two hands have to be on the floor.
So you can't have these guys who will just go ahead and put one in, like a
No,
timeout. Basically.
you can be kicked in the face with that now.
Good.
Yeah, because you're gaming rules, right? You're not actually grounded. If your ass is on the floor, if there's more than just all 4 points, but say if you're on your ass and your hands aren't touching, you're still on the floor. So if you're on the floor, you're on the floor. But and then it's quite a bit. There's some stuff I didn't really understand, and there was a lot of them. I got kind of bored.
So is this going into effect anytime soon?
Yeah, I think
This year?
I think January. Yeah.
2017.
So people fighting.
So not affecting this weekend's fights or Friday's fights, but from here on going forward.
I believe it's January 2017. Look up just unified rules. Big John McCarthy puts out a video. It's on Twitter, Facebook.
Is there a committee that
YouTube.
came up with these rules? Like, who came up with the rules? Who does that?
Yeah, there is. John McCarthy's part of it. It's whatever Unified Rules Committee,
All right.
but it applies.
I mean, generally, if one athletic commission adopts it, other ones probably will. Like, especially if it's a big one, like Nevada
Well, I mean,
or
I just wonder, is
California.
the committee made up of people that know very little about
John McCarthy,
Big John McCarthy,
knows
right?
very-
kickboxing? Yeah, Big John McCarthy.
doing this longer than we have. So
Yeah, he was back at Gracie Academy, back like early '90s, right? '93,
before the UFC, he wanted
before
to
the
fight.
UFC. Yeah,
They made the suggestion, so he came in at UFC 2.
that's right. Art Davey told me that like last month. So he gave me the entire Big John McCarthy backstory, all the Torrance PD
that was
guys.
a cool podcast. I enjoyed listening to that podcast.
Oh, he was awesome, man. Just being around him and hearing all his old stories and just sort of everything from his military stuff to living with Donald Trump. Art Davey lived with Donald Trump back in the day. And then just going over to Horian Gracie, not Horian, but Horian Gracie.
Yeah.
And basically pitching him on the UFC thing the first time, and him basically just sort of telling him to F off for the first year or two, and then finally he offered to do direct mail. So he used to sell direct mail campaigns for BMG. Remember Columbia House where you get the 10 CDs for a penny or something? Yeah, I pissed my parents off twice with that. I got the BMG and Columbia House one, and so they did a direct mail flyer thing for Gracie Jiu Jitsu, whatever, the original Combatives DVDs or the original, with Hickson and everybody fighting on the beach and stuff. And he made him 150 grand in the first month. And so he's like, all right, what's next? And so, well, this next thing is the world's best fighter, which turned into the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And they went to Colorado because they allowed bare knuckle boxing. So like he flew out there with the Gracie guys like Horian and whoever else. Hoist was there, but he was younger, right? But it was a really cool experience sitting down with him.
Mm-hmm. Did he have a cigar?
He had a derby, he had a hat.
A derby.
Yeah, his signature hat thing that's his thing.
It's a derby.
It's a type of hat.
It's the dome, right? The dome.
And the
With the-
brim,
Yeah, with the brim.
It
There's
goes
a brim.
all
a
the
little
way
bit
around.
rounded.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Wow.
He had the jacket on and everything. Yeah. Made eye contact. He
That's hard
says
to pull off.
No, he's got that.
He can do it?
Well, he's from Brooklyn. He's an
Right.
Italian guy from Brooklyn,
Uh-huh.
and he's a distinguished gentleman, so he can pull off the derby.
You know what I'm excited about? Just going off a subject a little bit. That EBI with the palm strikes.
When is that?
Whoop. Do they got that set? Do they have a card or anything? I think they're looking for a four-man
A floor man?
bracket.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's going to be part of it. Like, you have those rules and then the regular EBI rules. And then probably it should be interesting. Like, Eddie was always talking about, like, he always saw, like, his event being, like, in his jiu-jitsu. And, like, he's always all along had this plan of, like, making his event as a bridge to, like, mixed martial arts. But in turn, like, you make this bridge to mixed martial arts, and the bridge works both ways. Like, so hopefully he's been trying to attract MMA fans and people that aren't necessarily interested in grappling or grappling. Yeah, I don't want to say pure, but like, but people that aren't interested in sport grappling or, basically whatever Eddie's trying to do is try to build up a new audience for jiu-jitsu essentially. So we'll see how this turns out. Like, I think it's a great experiment. Like, it reminds me back of training way back in the day when we had slap training.
Yeah, I'm very interested. I remember Half Gracie was getting ready for a fight, or I don't even know if he was getting ready for a fight. I think he was always ready for a fight, actually. But he was training with I don't know if I should say his name, but one of the teammates there, old teammate, and he was palm striking, and he mounted this guy, and he was palm striking him in the head, in the face, and the guy is bald, shaved head, and Half was you just hear it. And then he said, "You give up." Half asking, "You give up?" He's all, the guy on bottom's like, "No, never." And he's like, "Good, my man." And started slapping him some more. And then finally he tapped and he got up and his face was just all purple. And,
I mean, people forget that, like, you can hit somebody longer and more sustained with a palm strike than a closed fist.
Oh, yeah,
like,
of course.
That was the Boss Rutan thing in Pancrase. Like, like, I would way rather, like, you close your fists and you start striking like that, bare knuckle and all that. Chances are you're going to break your hand.
Yeah.
But I can do this with my palm and just batter you
Easy
all
experiment.
day long.
Easy experiment for the people out there listening. Go up to your wall, make a fist, and then just don't punch your wall very hard, but hit the wall with your knuckles and then open it. And then use your palm and do the same thing and see what you'll get the most juice out of. It's going to be your palm.
Yep.
It's going to be your palm for sure. But yeah, people can try that. And you can knock somebody out with a palm. Very easy. You can break a nose,
Absolutely.
bust a jaw. But I'm interested in the positional because before I didn't like that guys are giving up positions. Like, there's no point. So guys would just be on top. I can't pass. I'll pull. I didn't like to see that. I didn't want to see guys falling on their back, let the guy on top. So this might take that out of the equation. Now guys are going to want to be on top. They're going to want to have gravity on their side. They're going to want to be able to maybe lay some palms down and advance their position and be more positionally. They want the position more.
Well, you're going to want top
The
position
bottom
more.
guy is going to want to be tight or far, right? So it's gonna bring back what's, I think, fundamental to jiu-jitsu is the position, which is forgotten when you don't score.
What would be cool is to run it like this with the palm strike, say, for 2 years, and then just collect data on it, and then look at injuries, how many knockouts happened or how many fights are actually finished because of the various positions. With half guard's great, but if you're gonna get cracked in the face, it's not that cool, right? So you'll be able to say, like, okay, is the point system that we're doing right now in gi and no gi, like IBJJF style tournaments, are those points, is it really 4 points for mount? Is that type of severity? Should there be points for half guard, things like that? Because if you have data that you're building from a number of these events, like on how bad people are getting injured in various positions, now you can actually assign more sort of
you can always
realistic scoring.
You can always go back and look at old Vale Tudo fights and see what was going on there. You'll probably see something like that happen again. But the difference is in Vale Tudo is usually jiu-jitsu versus, there was jiu-jitsu guys that fought each other, but it was usually jiu-jitsu versus some other art, and usually like an elite jiu-jitsu guy was representing jiu-jitsu. And here you got high-level jiu-jitsu guys fighting each other. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And I think if it's entertaining, people understand visually. Everybody understands a slap. If you slap somebody, everybody's ooh. It gets everybody excited. They don't understand passing guard. They don't understand the pin. They don't understand setting up the choke, unless you train jiu-jitsu, right? But people that watch MMA, if they tune in and they see somebody getting slapped and then choked, that's interesting. They're gonna visually, everybody understands that. You know what I'm saying?
I can see just having a couple like beast
Now I'm
wrestler
saying,
fights Like, how many guys are going to go pull half guard or wind up in half guard and just get their nose broken and the fight's over immediately?
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't want to see knockouts or anything. I want to see I want to see people go, set up submissions, a position, advance their position. But Eddie Bravo, I think he said that he's been doing this type of training with his guys for a while. So I'm sure he has a good idea of what the fights will look like.
But what you bring in, so guys like Chael Sonnen, guys like Dan Henderson, you sign them up and you get cracked in the face one time with a palm strike from Dan Henderson, your day's over. It's done, right?
Yeah,
so once you have ex-MMA guys and guys that can strike and just beast wrestlers that are fine to just sit in Z guard,
But I think Eddie's maybe he wants jiu-jitsu experts.
I think he wants people that are going to attract an audience to himself. So
True. Yeah.
And I don't necessarily. Well, I was about to say if they're going to take.
I mean,
if they're going to get like a Dan Henderson or something like that. Like I think if they're going to allow strikes in there, he's going to want a bit more money than Eddie Bravo's putting into there right now,
right.
Or like you're going to get out of that. But you'll see some up and comers. Like you'll see I think a difference in the game, different strategies. Of course, everything's a game. And everything has like a system to kind of figure out and work your way through. So there's going to be different strategies, but certain strategies are working really well right now, like under the no strikes rule, are not going to be available to you in the in this format. The same as like MMA or I guess a street fighter.
Some of these guys, I think like Eddie Cummings, you let the guy that he's fighting palm strike him, I think he's going to be fine. I think he's still going to, man, do you see that guy touches your ankle and people tap? And I think they're in a school where they take this very serious. So like if a guy like that was going to do it, I'm sure he would, that would be interesting to see, Eddie Cummings and maybe that weight division, because there's so many good guys at that weight division.
Well, what we're talking about, what Eddie's talking about building, it becomes a different sport. Right, because MMA I think it's jiu-jitsu. Changed, right?
Well, he calls it combat jiu-jitsu, right? But I think it brings jiu-jitsu back to what it was. That's what it was. There's no need to call it combat jiu-jitsu. It's jiu-jitsu. The other stuff should be called something else, submission wrestling,
sure,
all right, or gi jiu-jitsu or something. This is more closer to jiu-jitsu than the other stuff.
Well, it goes back to jiu-jitsu versus the world as opposed to jiu-jitsu just versus jiu-jitsu. Right. In the sense, the generation that we came up with, it's we had to think about that. Even if we didn't train it on a regular basis, and we did sometimes train it, it was something that was in the back of our mind. Right now, you have people that are, and I've said this numerous times, if you're only thinking about the sport jiu-jitsu as the IBJJF or any of these other formats right there, and you take out the striking, it's not so much that it's a different art, it's a different application of the art, and your strategies and whatnot are going to be different, but which is fine.
It's more original to what you do.
Well, it's as long as it's not your sole focus, competition, whatever the competition is that much of your jiu-jitsu compared to the whole range of where you're going to be at and what your skill set is and your knowledge and what you can pass on and all that. So I'm assuming, I don't know if this will ever be big enough that you'll see people that really kind of specialize in this in the way that you see people specializing in sport jiu-jitsu, the way you'll see people specializing in MMA, which again might make it interesting because especially not for the first couple of iterations of this, it's it's kind of the Wild West right now. Let's figure out what people are doing right now.
I'm really interested to see how it'll do. And I think that a lot of these organizations, these different rules, they're showcases, right? Like the Fight to Win Pro, we can talk about that more in a little bit. It's taking away a little bit of the world's the medal. Like the medal doesn't, these guys are watching, these black belts are going to these different events, and all of a sudden the world's maybe I don't want to dedicate so much time. Maybe I want to do leg locks and some leg reaping. I want to get into that, and I want to compete in here because these guys are paying money. This is actually professional. There's rich guys out there willing to put money and lose it to pay these guys to have them go into matches. So I think maybe it's good because it's making the top guys go out and do something, open their games up, take a little bit away from the world is still prestigious, right? But I think the more these other organizations grow, a little bit of that prestige goes because these black belts are going to leave and they're going to go over there.
I'm gonna have to disagree on that. The worlds are always gonna have its cachet and prestige, like that. There's multiple jiu-jitsu organizations. There's multiple jiu-jitsu tournaments that call themselves world. Some of them pay money. Yeah, and this big split that happened with Allianz back in the early 2000s, which wound up forming your Brazos and like eventually Atos and Checkmat and all that came from a desire of like the Novania Andres Pereira, like, formed his league. They were going to pay their athletes, or they were going to pay the victors. They held them on the same day as the Worlds, and at least a lot of the coaches, the way the politics were, it's like, nah, like you have to make a choice either. Well, you had to make a choice when they were on the same day. It's like you fight in this one or this one. But the fact that the athletes were going to get paid on certain ones was what.
But that didn't last long.
No, those organizations are still there. They don't still get. They're still down in Brazil. They don't get the same publicity. No, there's still multiple organizations that hold it right there, whether or not they have the money.
Pederneiras' event, I think the World Cup or whatever, I think that's ended a little bit, and then they tried to bring it back. But I don't think is the money still there now?
I don't know. Like, one thing that was told to me like last year,
because they're not making money.
Well, like like in Sao Paulo, for example, like there's a lot of professional events from what I understand. Like,
even back in the day, there was.
No, like even right now, like guys like Leandro Lowe and Meows, if my sources, like, because I haven't been down to Brazil in a while, like actually, like, that camp, a lot of those guys compete almost every weekend for prizes and money and stuff like that. And they make their living off of that, and they're just constantly competing because it's not even so much that they can make a good living off of it. Like, actually, they can make a decent living off of it, especially in comparison to where their backgrounds might be. But there is a professional, like there's more organizations that actually pay for jiu-jitsu other than the ones that we're talking about that we're familiar with. They might not all be on the internet. They might not all get the same press, but they're out there. And still to this day, the cachet is like, the best gi person in the world is the one that wins the world. It's like, that's the one that everybody kind of guns for, regardless of the fact that you have to pay for it. It's a different organization right there. Well, it's a different. It always has been.
The guys that are winning the worlds, though, they're not generally getting paid to compete. They're covering their own costs usually.
Sponsors.
There's sponsors, whatever. They're making their living through teaching, so they're teachers who compete.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you can win $500 on a tournament, or you can win 0 and get that medal. But putting that medal on your resume, being able to say like IBJJF World Champion, like will attract you more dollars down the road.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I mean, the average person that comes into the academy knows nothing about world champions. They don't know any of the names.
Usually.
And the people that do know, they're already established in an academy. So, I mean, it probably helps with seminars for a while you're active. I don't know. There's
a subculture though. It's like, the IBJJF, like these tournaments are definitely growing. Like, in not even just talking at the top level, like, they're getting like 3,000 to 4,000 people, like, and they're not everybody's championship caliber. Like, the men, women, children of all ages are competing in these things right there. So there's a definite subset of like, like you're the best out of that organization. You have a lot of people competing in that organization. So like your brand value goes up in the eyes of those people that are competing in the same tournament.
It's all brand building, right? So,
from what I understand, most of the money comes from people that have money and are willing to put it into the event and then lose that money, right? They love jiu-jitsu. They're willing to put money in, and they're not.
We're talking about something other than IBJJF right now. Then.
Other than IBJJF, yeah. I'm talking about well, if you're talking about pro jiu-jitsu and where these fighters are getting their money, where is the money coming from? It's not coming from ticket sales, right? It's not coming from 1,000 people buying tickets at $50. Right?
Advertising, sponsorships.
Sponsor jiu-jitsu, maybe a gi company,
but essentially it works down to like individual sponsors, like kind of the rich man kind of syndrome right there. It's like almost like I sometimes compare it to like the Isle of Dr. Han, like in Enter the Dragon, that you get this invitation, you're fighting for the amusement of somebody like that.
Right. Yeah.
They're not interested in like the big audience right there. It's like I kind of want to see this, and I got 10 grand burning a hole in my pocket, so I'll do that.
The 540 event that happened, I think that was pretty much fronted by Robert Zepps.
Yeah, he was like independently wealthy, and like what he says goes on there. Like
did he make money? Do you think he made money on that?
I don't think he cares on that.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So how is this a sustainable?
It's not. Like the second that one of these guys gets, the second that one of these guys gets bored or pissed off or which is all the above has happened at some point.
The same thing happened in the karate world back in the 80s, 70s, 80s. Same thing. A lot of money poured in. Karate, board breaking, all that got on TV, got on ESPN. Even I think
it still is.
Some of the local channels still comes on, right? It's repeats usually. Got on there, but it didn't do anything for the sport. The sport is,
There's still more people that
The
take
same-
karate than jiu-jitsu, though.
Sure.
oh yeah, there's a lot more karate schools. And
And
There still is more karate schools right now.
It costs
than
a fifth
jiu-jitsu
of
school.
it costs a fifth of what jujitsu does, though. Like, this is kind of a boutique martial art, right? It's not for the
well, I
Well,
think
like,
it's become. I don't
here
want to say
anyway.
I don't think someone offend people, but I think it's become
Trendy?
just a way to make money. I think the
Sure.
art's been lost. And it's like, how many people can we get in? We'll entertain them for a while. They'll pay us, and
I mean, it's the Wild West. I think a lot of these promotions are just trying to see what works, and maybe one's going to catch. I mean,
I think martial arts outside of jiu-jitsu has become like a children's activity. It's something that children do.
Oh,
like if
well,
karate,
that was
taekwondo.
way back when, yeah. I mean, that's nothing
because
new.
I think the business took hold and said we got to market to kids only, and then they got to teach in a way that children understand. And I know that some instructors started teaching adults that way. Adults don't want to be taught the way kids are, right? They don't want to be. They don't want to. I don't even want to get into it, but I think there's ways you teach kids and there's ways you teach adults. And if you try to crisscross those or do everything the same, it's not going to work well. But I hope jiu-jitsu doesn't go that route. I hope jiu-jitsu stays.
I think jiu-jitsu's already going that route,
and
though.
yeah, it is a little bit. And then like Muay Thai, I think is very adult kind of exercise or training, and it's still something that's pretty pure as far as it's a ring sport. You're learning how to fight in a ring, but it's transferable to self-defense, I think. But I see, I don't know. I like jiu-jitsu, and I see one of the things is that a lot of people are getting heavily into the TMA, the traditional martial arts marketing systems, and starting to market to children a lot, which is great. You want kids doing jiu-jitsu. They don't need jiu-jitsu, but they should do jiu-jitsu. It's perfect for kids. And it's perfect for women and men as well. So I don't know. I see parallels because I grew up doing karate, and I see the same thing happening in the jiu-jitsu world that was going on. In
People
karate.
have to make a living, like, So
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you
of
have to
course.
put this
Yeah,
out
you
there.
have to- yeah.
Like, it's always been going down this route where it's going like the traditional martial arts thing, like, in terms of the marketing, in terms of the way the people are running classes, the terms, like, like we're kind of dinosaurs in a way, the way that we came up and were brought up, and the way that we're kind of trying to set up our academies right now. In that sense, but
I'm very influenced by, I think, Half. Somebody would come in, they want to try it out, train. Half says, okay, go. Go train. He was usually very welcoming, and money was not his thing. I think that's why he would put family members like his wife or his mother-in-law in charge of that, because he didn't want to deal with that. It kind of interrupted what he was doing on the mat. And but I see that, if you want to have a successful school, you need a lot of members, and to have a lot of members, you've got to do things differently than maybe you did coming up in the system yourself.
Yeah, well, at the time that Half opened up his school, like, I always say, like, one of the big differences is like, like, out of every 20 people came in, like, 19 of them would drop out after 6 months. And it was because we chased you out at that point. Like, like we weren't, no, it's like you were food when you walked in there. Like, we were going to try to kill you. And you came back the next day, we'd try to kill you again. And if you lasted a while, we'd still keep killing you, but at least you'd be in that group. And that's why that group is so tight knit. But nowadays, like if you came in that way and you're going to leave, where are you going to go? Like, no place else. Like, and for every like 19 people that dropped out, like another 19 people will come back in and replace it. It's like, it was that high of a turnover. Where else were you going to go? And nowadays it's like, and this is back in the days, like there were 3 schools in Northern California total. And we were really kind of fortunate in that we had 3, like, 4 black belts teaching in like the late 90s.
Caesar, Charles, Hal.
No, Charles wasn't there at that point. Caesar, Claudio, Hal, and Carly has had a school for a long time there.
He's probably the first. Carly was the first. I think he came to the States before Horian.
1976 is when Carly came up, but Carly wasn't teaching, like, took a long hiatus off. Like, Horian was the one that, like, really popularized jiu-jitsu. The UFC is what popularized jiu-jitsu, and then Carly was like, from my understanding, was doing copy repairs or something like that. And then that's what he was into at that point.
He had a job. He had a day job.
He had a day job, and he was like, hey, jiu-jitsu is a real popular thing right now. Like, everybody wants it. It's like, oh, I'm a red belt. Like, maybe I could give up the day job and then kind of transfer over. But he's been a big part of the San Francisco Bay Area, like, jiu-jitsu tapestry for a long time right now. But, you compare that to, like, and geographically, places are far enough. Maybe if he hated one of us, like, he'll go to someplace else, but not too likely. In comparison to, like, there's 4 schools within like 2 square miles of me right now, or something like that right now. If you hate me, you can go someplace else. More like, the way we set things up. And that's cool. It means that the art's growing, and, like, even though, like, we have to run this as a business, and we have to make a living on this, I think there's still an opportunity to be true to ourselves. Like, well, this is how I want to do it. And, like, I'm not looking to get the entire population of San Jose or the Bay Area right there. I just have to get a few people to agree with me and, like my vision of this.
So I feel a lot of it is the way that jiu-jitsu is it lacks a lot of the formality that some of the TMAs have, right? We don't have the bowing in a lot of gyms. It's kind of ad hoc.
A lot of people get into martial arts because of that cultural influence.
Right.
Like if you go to a Japanese style school, they have that Japanese cultural. It's not martial arts; it's the part of the culture
Sure.
of Japan, and people like that. That brings them in. Same thing with if you do kung fu, you get into the culture, Chinese culture.
Sure.
If you get into Muay Thai, you get into Muay Thai culture, and you go overboard, right? I read a story about a guy who. He goes to Thailand a lot, and he sees foreigners coming. And when Thai people, they don't bow. They generally put their palms together, I guess.
Okay.
And they do this. And usually they do that once or twice, like once coming into the building, once leaving. He says foreigners come and do it like every 2-3 minutes. They're constantly putting their hands. It's something that I think attracts people that are not part of the culture to that martial art. They want to train that martial art, but they want to learn more about the culture, become a part of that culture even. Yeah. When I was growing up, there was guys getting the Bruce Lee haircuts, wearing the kung fu shirts and the shoes to school. They were all dressed up, doing a lot of the, trying to speak in Chinese. And the Japanese karate guys were doing the same thing. So I think that's attracts people. In jiu-jitsu, it's westernized, right? It's handshake, bump, go, right? You bow if that's in your tradition, if that's in your history. If you do judo, came up in judo, you're probably going to have a Japanese very cultural influence, right? The bowing and all that, the style of your academy.
There's academies that have like a much more TMA feel to it, like they will insist on the bow, and they have much more stringent uniform.
Well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason that they do that, and it's usually not anything to do with martial art. It's usually something more to keep people in and.
A financial incentive. Go ahead and say that.
A financial incentive, sure, yeah, for sure.
People want to be a part of something, right?
Yeah, but like I said, if you can run it there's a lot of academies you can run it true to how you feel on that. Like you as an instructor are comfortable with that. It's what you brought up. If those are the type of people you want to attract, run it like that.
If you're an academy instructor and you say you have 50 students and you see these guys over here doing one thing and they've got 800 students, you're gonna be like, yeah, I got to do what these guys are gonna do. Because you want to stay in business. So you're going to start doing what they're going to do. You're going to start implementing, executing what they're doing. And next thing you know,
so
you become a TMA.
With as loosely as all of different jiu-jitsu schools, we're all under kind of IBJJF, and everybody competes, and we recognize that's the world's, or you can even say it's Abu Dhabi, ADCC. But the looseness of that jiu-jitsu is kind of as new as it is. It allows for it. I feel like with some of these traditional martial arts, there's one kind of way, larger associations, and you kind of follow this more, the katas, and everybody kind of bows in. It's more, even the way we handle belts here, right? It's sort of different from gym to gym. You have to be able to hang with people at your level.
It's still early.
It is. It's the Wild West, right? But I feel like a lot of this stuff in 10 years is going to be a little bit different. You're going to see more formality, maybe, right?
I think so.
The only thing that would it should have been more formal to start off with. There was an interesting interview with Draculino, I think it was. This is a couple of years ago, and he talked about with the belt system. He says the way that we do belts is wrong. It's largely subjective by us as instructors right there. But my standards versus Mike's standards versus your standards might be very different things. We might be looking for different things. Not to say that it's right or wrong, but it's definitely different. In his I'm pretty sure it was Draculino that said this. In his estimation, that really we should be nominating candidates for each of these belts and have some sort of system or some kind of council or a higher power that actually goes ahead and awards and approves these belts. But
similar to judo.
similar to judo in that sense. Like, you basically apply for that, or you apply for your dans, and like they do a review of that and stuff like that. It's like, okay, this person's worthy for their belt, and like, you're accepted by the greater community. Right now it's subjective, largely based on the individual instructor on that. And the instructor like can have what other standards and motivations that you want on that. One of my motivations is that the standards of the community right there's like, well, I don't want my belts to be garbage, so like I want them to like I value these highly, and I want my belt and rankings and my students to be valued highly wherever they go. But if there was that kind of like system, like there was an organized like kind of community, it's like, okay, like like there's this standard out here, and I can go ahead and project and say like, hey, these guys are up to the standard, and there's a formal way of doing it. That would be a good thing in my opinion. However, the organizational level, the politics of that will probably not let that happen anytime soon, if ever, in my opinion. In terms of that type of standardization, like, I guess there is a standardization, the IBJJF we were just discussing, like the getting the diplomas, the belts, the membership cards and stuff like that. Some of the trials and tribulations we've had to get a hold of that and quote unquote legitimize ourselves that way. But it's not quite the same thing as what I'm talking about right there. Although I will say that there is some level of background checks and the standardization in place right now. But
I mean, we pay for a background check, but I think what is this for? I mean, they're checking for felonies to make sure we aren't rapey, like that we're going to be able to, represent, and then they're not going to be held liable. That when they put on their website that we're a legitimized IBJJF certified black belt, that is it more sort of releasing them from liability, us having background checks? Because
I think just
this all happened when the Lloyd Irving thing came out, right?
There was other things that have been going on too.
There's been others.
I mean, like they didn't get convicted of anything after all said and done. There are other black belts out there that have been like certified black belts that have actually been like tried, convicted, and imprisoned on stuff.
Mm-hmm. Is it Seattle or Portland? That one guy?
Yeah. There was that, and like
bad.
Yeah, and there was
the guy committed suicide in the cell, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's been multiple instances of this in the community and stuff like that. So like I'd like to think that like as jiu-jitsu, as martial arts, like as you kind of go on through it, it's not just your ability to fight. Like we're trying to build better people overall. And our path to do that is like the discipline and the trials and the hard work that you put into the martial arts and all that. But at the end of the day, like, if we're saying like we're responsible for making people better people, what happens when that doesn't turn out right? When you have somebody that like, uses and abuses that station that they're afforded for bad purposes and stuff like that. So, at least putting that kind of background check on there, or like, having something on there, it's better for all of us in that sense.
It's like if you have one toxic person in a group of people, nature kind of takes its course in the academy. And you see it all the time. Like when there's a bad egg, they eventually wind up somehow getting pushed out, either by the instructor or just by the community as a whole.
Sometimes
they're rejected by the community. But when you have
sometimes they're too stupid to know they're being rejected, and they just keep coming back.
Sure.
So that happens. But like, jiu-jitsu, like you cannot, like I was explaining this like the first day walking, you cannot get better at this by yourself. Like you need other people around you. Like it's impossible. Like there's no going off to the mountain, reading the secret scroll, coming down, and it's like, haha, now I need this technique and I got better at this. It's like you actually had to have somebody to work that technique with. You not only learn that technique, but you have to learn how to work that in its context and its place, with timing, with your opponent that reacts, or opponent or a partner that reacts to you at that point. So there's no possible way, like there's literally no possible way of getting better at jiu-jitsu without having some sort of community, even if it's a community of two. Like you still have to interact and work with somebody else in there. Totally. So that kind of polices it out there. I mean, like I guess you gotta have two a-holes there. Am I allowed to say that on your...
Say whatever you want. It's the internet.
All right, that's right. Well, you can have two assholes that I guess kind of get together and build it up. But
whoa,
sorry. But generally speaking, especially because we're talking about businesses and larger and larger communities, right there, it's like that person that comes in that's not part of that community for whatever reason, and it could be good or bad. Like just you can't get any better that way.
So I guess going back to the original thing on the background checks or whatever, it's one thing to have that toxic element in the gym, but leading it. Now all of a sudden you're just going to produce toxic people. And now this is like exponentially worse, right? So I guess by IBJJF having these stringent background checks and it kind of, the process being kind of long and annoying.
Well, you don't need to take the background check until you're applying for your black belt.
But
right?
yeah, but again, as a leader of a gym,
Right.
if you're a piece of crap human being as a student in a gym, nature takes its course eventually. You'll be pushed over there. People are like, dude, this guy's an idiot. Like, not you, but like this guy way over there in the background, in the back of our starship,
Like
not the Enterprise. That guy, yeah. But as a leader, look at all the stuff, right? That character from that movie that's not the one we're in right now. Don't take my freaking clip offline. Yeah, by leading and being an asshole, you're just going to produce more assholes. So I guess what IBJJF is doing with the background checks is probably a good thing. Even if it's just a small check, like you could just not be convicted of something and still get your certificate. But
here's the thing: I don't want to say I believe in karma or anything like that, or put anything on this. But like you put that energy out to the universe, at some point you're going to set yourself up for a fall. Like I can't believe, and I can say this literally off of experience and being around this. It's like. You can't sustain that forever. At some point, it crumbles and it crashes in a spectacular way. And again, if you guys know our background and know the people we used to hang out with and seen some of the people that we've known, it's not sustainable. Like that kind of like putting out that type of energy. Like you might, like it just history will prove me wrong on this maybe, but vast majority of them, like even if like they somehow manage to get to a point of power, it just doesn't last. Like it's not sustainable in the long term right there.
They get along. They'll get away with it until they don't, right?
Yeah, but like I said, there's always something that catches up with you. Like if you put it out, if you have to look over your shoulder, eventually somebody's going to catch you.
For sure. Let's see.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about EBI rules.
EBI rules, and we turn into shitty human beings and Darth Vader and stuff. And
Is that's going on for sure? The EBI thing, right? With the palm strikes,
I hope
I
so.
think so.
it's going on. I haven't seen anything on it.
Just sounds fun. I mean, I don't want to get punched in the face, but
Yeah, well, it's palm.
that still sucks.
Yeah,
Getting hit in the face sucks.
you block it. Do you want it?
Oh, double? Is that legal though? Because this is illegal now. But that should be legal because the fingers are not pointed towards the face.
It's called
Right
the double
there.
shark fin
It's double
defense.
it's not the curly or the mo. Who did it? And which stooge did that of the three?
Mo is usually the aggressive one.
Yeah, he was a dick.
Yeah, he was the bad guy.
Shemp, Curly. There was four.
There was
Steves.
Shemp.
There were four. There was Shemp. Everybody forgets Shemp.
Yeah.
No respect for Shemp.
Shemp got beat up a lot.
Yeah, he got his ass kicked. So what else we got? Fight to Win Pro.
Oh yeah, Fight to Win Pro.
Coming up. Have they announced a venue for that yet? I know it's San Jose, obviously, but like.
No, they've really done this photo shoot so far.
Clint Cronin might have an opponent.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that.
I'm stoked. They hit me up a month or two ago, and then they just started doing the matchmaking last week. I've had a couple that we've discussed, different weights. Most of the guys they offered were like in the 230, 240 pound range.
You're swole.
Not that
You're
swole.
like a swollen 300 right now, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm I'm probably like 210 right now, 215.
210.
I don't know. I screwed my knee up, so I wasn't training for like a week or something, and then my quad, like my knee didn't bend anymore. Like my quad was just a mangled mess.
But
I lost some weight.
as far as a live event goes, like I was super impressed by it. Like I've been to a lot of different grappling events over the years. Like I hope Fight to Win like sticks around and does really well, and like the guys that are putting on, I think did an awesome job, and I think.
Do you know
everybody should
anything
watch
about
this.
who's putting it on? Like who puts
Seth Daniels out of Colorado.
on? Okay.
Is he Flow Grappling or is he just affiliated with the video stuff?
See, like Flow Grappling comes along, and it's kind of like what we did way back in the day before they were streaming. That's like, okay, you have your promotion, but if you want to get it out there, if you want people to see it, then you hire another company to do it. Flow Grappling is that company right now.
OTM representing.
Way back in the day, but I always explained that, like, before Flow Grappling, there was Budo Videos. Before Budo Videos, there was BJJ Tapes. Before BJJ Tapes, there was us. So, like, we had that role at one point, too. But, like, Flow Grappling doesn't produce, as far as I know, their own events right there. I was going to say content, but they do produce content, but they don't produce their own events. So if somebody comes in, like, fight to win. Like, and it's like, well, I can go ahead and set this up and try to stream this myself. Whereas, like, they got to spend time doing the matchmaking, setting up the mats, doing like they call themselves Team No Sleep, and I could see after seeing the production and like their schedule, like how that came into be. It's like, wow,
they kill it. That San Francisco event, that's what made me want to do the event. You get this ring entrance package, you get music, you get the light show thing, the video package.
Yeah.
Can you look up? Do they have matches announced for?
I know some of the matches.
Do you know?
Danny Bohegan main event. Not main event, but Kim Terra. Danny Bohegan's one. So spell checker, the Velocigrappler, the Velociraptor, whatever. Velocigrappler.
Main event is Kashin versus.
Oh man, yeah. I just saw this
matchup.
too.
Bruno Frazado.
That's it.
Yeah.
Bruno Frazado.
That's a good matchup right there.
Then you've got Pirates on. So Patrick Walsh, the owner of Jits Club's on the card.
Versus Kai Kitzman. That's a huge size difference between the two. Like, I mean, Pirates like granted like 6'7", 6'8". Kai is like might be the strongest guy locally in jiu-jitsu right now, or up there, like just physically like bear types. He looks like a bear. He looks like if he shaved a bear. No offense, he's a super nice guy, but he looks like if you shaved a bear and put him in a gi, that's Kai Kitzman right there. So
I know the level of guys that Pirate has been training with lately, like doing all the stuff with Checkmate lately, like he's gotten a lot better. So he's game. Chris Coldiron's competing again. He did really good on that last event with what the hell was the guy's name? Hamala Mello. So it was a really, really competitive match. He looked great. He wound up getting caught, but he was very game. It was a good match. Kurt Osiander's making his return to Fight to Win Pro. I might be on the card, which will be awesome.
Two of my brown belts are competing. Eastside Nick is going against Jose from Batatas. Should be an interesting matchup. They've been training partners before. And Jeremy Jackson versus Max from Milton Bastos. So,
Max has to watch for that armbar, man. That was sick.
The funny thing is, like, Jeremy was talking about that very setup and that armbar like the week beforehand on that. And Jeremy is, they're both monsters, actually. Jeremy works as hard as anybody at the gym right now.
Gumby suggested Barati versus Clinton.
That's...
Well, you're looking at super heavyweights of the same age.
If you guys don't know,
3-time world champion.
Is monsters. He's a monstrous man. He likes to inflict pain in a very technical way.
No, he dismantled Dan Camarillo. It was terrible. I hated seeing it. I like John Alotti's from Philly. I'm from Jersey. We get along really well. I like him. We both have kind of.
I'm gonna blame the matchmaker on that one right there, though. Like I love, like, style wise, that was a bad matchup for Dan, though. I think, like, if you allow Dan movement, Dan can like.
Catch anybody.
Yeah, like as they move around, like if you want to beat a Camarillo, you ground him. Like, and you hold it and stall it out. But like, Barsati style where you grind and he grinds and he grinds and he grinds. Like, that's like
he took him down too.
He catches that arm.
He got that ankle pick.
Yeah.
And just hard
to
watch.
Yeah, that's
love Dan. Hard to watch.
Yeah. Well, Dan's
they're competitors.
He's a competitor,
yeah.
So like, he's been out there, he's been that before, but like, if there is a way to beat Dan, like, I don't know, historically, it's grind him out right there.
Steamroll.
If you move with a Camarillo, you're toast. Like,
if you give him space, he's breaking your arm.
Yeah. And like, strength wise too, like, granted there was a pretty huge size difference between the two of them. I mean, like, Dan fights at light heavy right now, but he says he walks around when he doesn't cut. Like, I think if he like skipped breakfast in the morning, he'd be middleweight easily, not lightweight. Like, he's not a big guy, but his core strength is ridiculous. Like, like once he like sets up for that armbar and he starts extending that out there, like, very few people in the world, I think, could stop that.
He does that De La Hiva elevator into armbar. He did it at one of the Gorilla events against Cole.
He's been doing it for like 20 plus years or longer.
Yeah, I've been in that a number of times.
He's so fast.
Yeah. I would watch him do that on everybody, and I was very influenced by that. I used to do that all the time as well.
Love that
I
setup.
love that move. Yeah, Jake Bell as well has that move down pretty well.
The Tomonagi armbar.
Yes.
Is it Tomonagi or is it De La Hiva?
He does. Well, he did De La Riva on Cold Iron.
He's been doing De La Riva for ever since I can remember. He puts the De La Riva hook. The other one's usually on the hip. He pulls the collar, pulls the elbow. He'll hit the sweep, or he'll lift you and drop you into the armbar.
But it's like, his game is like, his core strength is really underrated. His timing is impeccable. But you don't give him that type of stuff, he's gonna have issues. So like I said, that's a tough match. That was going into, like, I figured that was gonna be a rough matchup for him. And I love Dan's game.
It was the second time they tried to put that fight together. Last year at the previous annual Grand Prix tournament, I think they had booked that same one, and then it wound up being spell check against someone instead is sort of like a fill-in super fight. So they finally had to put it together a few months ago, maybe a month ago over at the Grand Prix. And so Barsati's game is hell. He's 3 times now Nogi world champion at Master 1. He's tough. That's a very tough match for anyone his size. He's a super heavyweight as well. Strong, hell of a wrestler, and he's got like a very unorthodox game. A lot of it's pain based. He will hurt you. If you don't let go for the Kimura, he'll just break your ribs. He does not care.
I mean, there's a lot of, just from a matchmaking standpoint, like you have your guys that are hovering around heavyweight, super heavyweight, like ultra heavyweight, like your 215, 220 plus guys right there. There's actually, like, in this area, a lot of good matchups to make. I know you had issues finding one right now. But
everybody they offered was either like a pretty good friend, or we were actually like me and Kingsbury, Kyle, we were talking about doing it. So if we don't wind up getting matched up on this one, they matched him with Elliot Kelly, which is a hell of a match for him. It's gonna be a tough match.
I just wound up hanging out with Elliot for a day, like about a week ago. Actually,
tough dude,
super good guy too. Like his story is like really unique. I think. Well, everybody's story is unique, but like I found myself really surprised talking to him.
So he's a Davis wrestler, right?
Davis, and he started jiu-jitsu in Japan.
Oh, crazy!
Yeah, so he's a Japanese professor as his day job.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so. Yeah, that's a good matchup right there. But like I'm just saying, like there's a lot of good big men out there right now, like competing and out there, and just I'm looking forward to seeing you guys continue to mix it up in the future.
This is day before the IBJJF SJ Open.
It's Friday, so like the SJ Open's like Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, so I was initially planning to do the SJ Open, and then this came. Seth contacted me via email, and it's like, you don't say no. It's a hell of an opportunity. I just want the walkout. I don't really,
have you thought about like your like costume and music?
Yes.
I'm sure. You don't have to reveal it right. You don't have to reveal it right now. Like I want to see it there, but like
no, someone will steal it. It's too cool.
No.
I have like 2 things in mind that I'll wind up training more for that than the actual event.
Are we expecting a Genki Sudo style like entrance?
No comment.
Somebody's got to come out and do that, right? Like you have this opportunity in front of there, and I think like now it's gone out. It's like, we got the theme music and the smoke machine. I know people get hyped up for this, but like, man, somebody like you have enough of these personalities right now coming out with these. Have enough of the jiu-jitsu personalities going the pro wrestling route to like try to hype themselves up. Like, here's your venue right here. It's like you better come out to that ring and bring it.
Oh yeah.
Come out during the ring entrance. Bring it on the mat, of course. But is your mat entrance like?
Well, you have the people that don't want to see that in jiu-jitsu. You have people that don't want to see that.
I don't want to necessarily see like kind of the heel rolls that people are playing
and just very respectful.
Screw that. I've watched enough jiu-jitsu. Like I want it's not a respect thing, but like I want to see a ring entrance. I want to see somebody come out
entertained.
I want to see an entertaining one. That's what this part of this is about. Like, that's why people are signing up for this, or one of the reasons. It's like, man, you're fighting in front of your home crowd. You're fighting in front of people that might not necessarily watch jiu-jitsu before. They have the smoke machines. They have like the screen backgrounds. They have the music. Like, go all the way with it. Go nuts. Like that's what I want to see.
Yeah. Stay true to your personality. That's what I say.
Your personality make this part of your personality.
So
I think this is like it's a little bit amped up on your personality. This is like you have your times to be quiet and stuff like that. Going into a ring like this is not one of them. Like that's one of the things that that pissed me off about the UFC when they took away the ring entrances from people. Now they made everybody the same. It's like, yeah, that got boring.
That'd be sick if you could drive your car straight up to the mat.
Dude, that would be sick. But
like a motorcycle, like Undertaker.
Yeah, but that's one of the main things that make Pride or Bellator like fun. Like they have the ring entrances and the pyrotechnics and stuff like that, and and guys will come out like, and like just
drive
for
your car up to the mat, have about 20 people come out.
Like
and
a
then you
clown
come
car?
out. Yeah, sort of like a clown car.
So I'd want Howard Finkel as my personal ring announcer,
There you go.
or Jimmy Hart coming out with the megaphone or something.
Come out something like that. Like, guys, get creative about that. And there's nothing disrespectful about that. Like, people are hyping themselves up with, Genki Sudo had like the most elaborate ring entrances of all time. There's nothing disrespectful about that. Well, yeah, no, I'm going to say there was nothing disrespectful about that. That was just, it was showmanship. Like,
What do you think about some people, like you got the Gordon Ryan, and they're talking trash, they're calling people out. Some people don't like that. Some people don't
It's
like
show
that.
business. Some people are not supposed to like that. That's how you build the fight.
Yeah, like, after
promotion.
hanging out, like I've known Gary for a while, and then like I got the opportunity to hang out with Gordon not too long ago. He's actually a pretty quiet guy. Like, like he was nothing like I necessarily expected from like hanging out with him and stuff like that. But it comes down to like you have these guys that have like we were talking about like a couple of $1,000, $10,000 burning a hole in their pockets. Like I want to put this fight together. It's like, well, who are you gonna like? You squeaky wheel gets the grease. You got to kind of hype yourself up. And you got to think of ways to hype yourself up.
I think guy is not gonna get
no.
the
Like
call.
I think that I think it's like they're doing what they have to do to get paid to like it's not even like a major audience that have to please everybody. They're trying to get one or two guys that are willing to.
I like that
this.
Felipe Pena called him out. Same rules, same time limit with the gi. I like that he did that, but Gordon's like, no, I'm focusing on no gi. But I think he should take that. I mean, he's calling people out, no gi.
Sure.
Take the gi match.
like
if he's saying, well, you got to put up your own 20 grand, he might not be able to do that. But it'd be interesting to see. I think Felipe Pena is amazing in the gi, though. He's, and he tapped Gordon within 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
was
within
it 30 minute
regulation
time?
and stuff
Within
like that. You got him
regulation.
in regulation, you got him. Like,
Past his guard. So I think with the gi, it'd probably be faster, maybe. I don't know. But I'd respect Gordon a lot. I'd be a bigger fan, right? If he took the gi match, I would want to see it.
Sure.
It's not that big of a deal because I think, again, Philippe in a gi versus Gordon. And Gordon probably doesn't spend probably any time in a gi. I don't know.
I've seen pictures of him in the gi, but he's obviously not making his living doing.
Well, John Donaher believes you should train with a gi.
Sure.
Yeah, but John Donaher does too. They're Tom DeBlas guys though.
Well, I would think Tom DeBlas probably trains with a gi.
I think they
or at least teaches in a gi.
Yeah.
But that was interesting. He turned it around.
Great. Pull off another $20,000 payday for himself.
Yeah.
I don't there's very little money in the sport, and you have some guys that are willing to shell out for it. It's set up these things, and hopefully somebody comes along. It's not even Gordon saying yes to this necessarily. It's something like that. It's like somebody comes in and is like, well, I'll pay $10,000 to see that. It's like, all right,
sure,
why not?
And then Gary was saying he was calling all these guys out, and Kim Terra stepped up, and he's like, I don't care about the rules or the weight, whatever. Let's just do it. And you wish that more guys would step up like that. Instead of, no, I want this amount of money or I want this rule. But this guy just stepped up. It's like, hey, let's do it.
But
it is about money
and stuff like that. Like they're trying to get this. Like I think some people in this get it, that they understand like there's a business aspect to it, and like they're trying to hype this themselves. And some of them I think really believe that pro wrestling's real.
It's not real. What?
Like there's a certain
a
certain element of this. Like I think that there's a certain element that they're amping up their personalities or trying to attract attention and that. And I think some of these guys are in on that, and some of these guys aren't.
Well, it's not. Yeah. Well, they're calling it the Conor McGregor syndrome or something. Everybody's trying to be the next Conor McGregor. And
Conor McGregor made $20 million in fights last year.
Right?
I'll say I'll come out I'll fight my mother for $20 million.
He's the only guy that he gets it. It's show business. Otherwise, they do it in the backyard for $10 an hour, nobody watching.
Some guys can't sell themselves. Some guys can't do it. It's
That's
not
the
part
job,
of who they
though.
are. Yeah.
That's exactly the job. It's on pay-per-view. Flow Grappling, you can actually buy these events.
They've got to train to sell themselves.
Well, and we got to sell tickets. If I know I need to know my opponent right now so I can get on this thing and sell it because I have to sell tickets.
You don't need you can you can just go up and like, I know you've watched like, you know, like I get into these modes where I start watching like Macho Man Savage interviews or something like that. And you just get out, oh yeah, let me talk to you about like, you know, San Jose General's I'm going to come out and kill you. Like it doesn't matter like who it is. It's how much you hype yourself up that way.
What is it, January 27th?
27th or 29th?
January 27th. What the fuck is the thing? Oh, Full Grappling on Full Grappling. What's it called?
Fight to Win Pro.
Called something else. Fight to Win Pro, January 27th. My pro debuts your end. Buy tickets right now on ClintCronin.com.
Oh, damn.
There you go.
I'm buying tickets now.
I have to go buy tickets.
What?
I'm not even buying tickets for my guys. Like, I'm scared now.
Oh, that was real.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. So I can do my own thing.
Clint's got the thing.
Like I said, but like those guys, like they're all kind of in on it right there. It's like, you know, it's hyping up, and there's a bit of a, it's like the second, like I don't care how much it is, like the second you accept $1 for what you do, it's a business at that point. Like, you know,
exactly.
you go out there and you try to do your business well. Like, you know, I'm not saying you do anything there's lines you should cross or anything like that, but like, you know, have a little fun with it. Like, you know, if you're trying to attract a better audience, if you're trying to attract a bigger audience to this, it's like there's a certain amount of showmanship on there.
Oh yeah.
So I think we said a lot. Mike, you got any shout outs? I gotta go and teach World Jiu Jitsu.
Shout out One World Jiu Jitsu Academy. You got Fremont, Newark area. You got Sunnyvale. Amazing instruction. Amazing black belts. I'll give a shout out to Heroes as well because my friend Gumby runs that place. What up? And then I want to say, give a shout out to Al. Should I say his name? Al. I'll say Al. One versus Knee. They're coming out with their gi. They came out today.
Today.
I think it came out today, 10 a.m. Coming out with their kimono. It's pretty fresh. If you guys need a gi, check them out. One versus Need. What else? Knox Gear. Shout out to my man Damon G. Always hooking a brother up. Yeah. That's it. That's all I got. Oh, hi, wifey. Hi to my wife and kids.
I'll give a shout out to fucking no one.
What was that? That sounded Japanese a little.
No, that was supposed to be my stupid.
Was that Irish? That was
like
Irish?
Fucking.
Ooh.
You shouted out everybody I wanted to shout out right there. You know, should I add anybody to that?
All right.
I'm also at the UFC gym. Should give a shout out to them.
Train UFC.
Yeah.
Train UFC, bro.
Hey, bro.
There you go.
But it was Kane, so it's all right.
Heroes, like the fight to win. Like, you know, I've talked about everybody I wanted to talk about right now.
What else? Shout out to Clint Cronin Show.
Shout out to the Clint Cronin Show.
That's right.
Shout out to Nima.
These sweet T-shirts coming real soon to
Can't wait.
a closet near you. So also Layout Optics for hooking it up, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year. 2017 is going to be amazeballs, and but whoever they face me up with at Fight to Win Pro ain't going to be so cool.
Yeah, it's going to be on.